In a nationwide campaign that eventually forced government's hand in declaring free higher education.
Careful.
But not without damage to universities running into millions, and some students at the forefront of the protests paying the price, among them Kanya Cekeshe.
Prison was actually a very dark place. Now I am regaining my sense of being back again. You know, one writer actually describes prison as a process of mortification, where your sense of agencies are all removed from you. Yeah. You basically are thrown into this dark pit, and it feels as though there's no light, and you really just don't know what to do most of the time. You need support in an environment like that. So I'm actually grateful to have this freedom that I have now, because now I can actually wake up whatever time that I want. I can actually focus on my life again. I can actually work on piecing back the pieces of the puzzles, which is my life again.
Kanya, let's go back to the cause that you were fighting for free, decolonized education.
Yes.
Why did you decide to join the movement?
The Fees Must Fall movement was, the best way I can describe it is a cobblepot for all of our issues within South Africa. Inequality, patriarchy, systematic injustices, racism, financial exclusion within our institutions. So it was this conglomerate, like sort of huge pile up of all these issues. And so it related and it resonated with me, you understand, because I have a deep passion for fighting for the black child and for the rights of the black child. And so now it actually resonated not only with me, you know, with thousands, as you've seen, with thousands of other students as well. Not only students, but members of community, members of society, working class, middle class, lower class. So, you know, another realization that I reached as well in prison was that we were actually also fighting for this group of people that's here as well, the marginalized blacks, you understand? So the movement in itself was a very powerful campaign, if I can put it like that, you understand, in which so many of us found our voices and found a voice in that one shout, in that one call for free decolonized education, you understand, because we actually understand what that means for the black child. Free decolonized education means restoring the dignity of a black child. It means that a black child can actually get the opportunity, the equal opportunity to actually fight and make a better life for themselves.
Cekeshe says he does not agree with the direction that the protests took.
Protests are not meant to be violent. Right, let me just clear that up. Protests are not meant to be violent. By nature, they are disruptive, but they're not meant to be violent. So now what happens is that you have this shift from the moral reasons as to why the protest was there, because of how those in power respond to those who are actually protesting or demonstrating, you understand? So historically, and in our case, they responded with military force. So you had institutions coming up with court interdicts. You had private security. You had so much police presence, you understand? They were basically responding in such a military way that, I mean, you should have seen how they would beat up certain students, you understand? They shot at us, you understand? They threw stun grenades and tear gases. And none of that would have happened had they actually just listened to what the people were actually, what we were actually pleading for, you understand? There's a complete different approach which could have been taken, which could have been used, which could have been a better way to handle the situation in itself, which would not have led to the violence.
Let's go to the particular day where there was more violence, and then that subsequently led to your arrest.
Yes.
Let's talk about that day.
Look, unfortunately, you know, that day was a normal day as any other day, you understand? We went protesting, believing that we were standing up and fighting for the movement and for the cause, as we have always been, you understand? Now, Unfortunately, I can't go into certain details because my matter is still in court, and therefore it would be incriminating against myself, if I may put it like that.
You're obviously convicted of trying to set alight a police van. I have to ask you, did you play a role in setting alight?
I can't answer that. Unfortunately, I can't answer that because my matter is still in court.
Well, some have criticized your release, saying that you were convicted for a very serious crime. In this instance, for your role in attempting to set alight a police van. What would you say to those critics?
I think we need to remember that the very same leadership which has prosecuted us, right, and subsequently which has not been listening, if I may put it like that, and adhering to the call of which thousands of voices have been shouting out and raising, you understand, the call for free decolonized education, came out and actually said, you know what, this movement was a just cause, you understand. The very same leadership came out and actually declared free quality education. All right. So now, I'm grateful for the remission. Honestly speaking, I feel like they could have done more. Honestly speaking, I feel like they could have done more. Because, I mean, by you declaring that what we stood up for and what we were fighting for was a just cause.
Cekeshe is still to appeal his conviction and sentence and wants his and other students' criminal records expunged.
I hope that it's not only my criminal record that will be expunged, you understand? Because I'm not the only one with the criminal record due to the fact that I was involved within FISMAS 4, you see. So I definitely hope that a leadership will actually recognize their flaws and their faults in this whole entire situation, you understand, and actually take steps in actually correcting them. You understand?
Do you regret anything?
No. Look, regret is actually a very personal thing. You understand? I don't regret anything because you don't get into such a movement with such ideologies at the forefront, with such a profound meaning. You understand? Only for you to have regrets afterwards, because then that will mean that you yourself as a person, you are literally questioning the very core values that you actually stand up for. You understand? And so no, I do not have any regrets.
An episode that now sparked his interest in legal matters. He is now studying law. Chriselda Lewis, SABC News in Johannesburg.